Hey guys, welcome to the channel. And today I have two dive watches that I like to compare. One is from Omega. It's the Omega Seamaster Master Chronometer coaxial model. And this watch came out in 2018. And then on the right side here, I have the Tudor Pelagos, which is, as you know, from the Rolex family. This is a 500-meter titanium dive watch with a fully in-house movement. So these two are very popular dive watches in around the $4,000 price category, but they're both very kind of different watches in terms of their what they try to achieve. The Tudor is more of a tool watch, and the Omega kind of toes the line between a dressy and a sporty dive watch. So it'll be really interesting to compare the differences between these two watches and really get a sense of what you get in each of these packages. So I'm gonna go through the different specifications, the dimensions, the movements powering these watches, as well as some of the features and some of the perks that you get from each of the manufacturers. You can see in their design detail and their design language that they're vastly different watches. Everything about the Omega is just very glossy. There's a good amount of high polish. It's a stainless steel watch, and it's a little bit more of a all-around kind of a dressier piece that's meant to be eye-catching. Some of the elements just aren't as practical as the Tudor, as you'll see. You know, the Tudor is a titanium dive watch, and everything in its design is made with the end user in mind, made for diving, essentially. Whether you choose to use that functionality or not, there's definitely a major appeal of having a watch that's just very focused in its design, very no nonsense. And you'll also see that the presentation boxes are very different. The Omega definitely wins in this category. You know, it has a very beautiful lacquered finish wooden box and this nice leather padding on the inside as well, just a very premium feel. And the Tudor kind of going along with Rolex's tradition of having more or less underwhelming packaging. You know, it's still very understated, and it gets the job done. It's got this nice suede lining on the inside as well. And, you know, it's a little bit more compact. So let's start with the Tudor. As I said, the Tudor is a fully titanium watch. In the early days, or even up until recently, Tudor watches were fitted with ETA movements, ETA calibers. And in recent years, they actually came up with their own in-house movements. So the movement powering this watch is the Tudor MT5612. It's a pretty impressive movement in terms of its specifications. It has a 70-hour power reserve, COSC chronometer certified. I've gotten pretty good accuracy on this one, probably plus 2 or 3 seconds a day, give or take. And you can see on the dial, there's quite a bit of text there that tells you what this watch is, essentially. You know, it's got a little mini paragraph there. So it's got Pelagos, chronometer officially certified, rotor self-winding, and then water resistant to 500 meters or 1640 feet. In terms of the dimensions, this watch is 42 millimeters in diameter. It's a little bit thicker at 14.5 millimeters thick. And this particular watch is quite a bit thicker than the ETA version. I think that one is about 13.7 millimeters thick, but it is a fairly thick watch. I do find that a lot of that is offset by how light the watch is due to the titanium. This watch only comes in at about 160 grams or so on the bracelet, which is very light. Just for comparison, my Explorer is about 130 grams. The lug distance is 50 millimeters, and the lug width is 22 millimeters, and it has a very nice taper. It tapers down to about 18 millimeters to this very nice milled out clasp, which is also in titanium. And this is also a huge plus of this watch, is the clasp is just incredible. It has 3 levels of on-the-fly adjustment. And then you'll see that on this last position, it's actually spring loaded. So it will move it'll conform to your wrist as you move your wrist around, as your wrist expands and contracts. So there's a lot of adjustability with this watch. And it does feature a diver's extension as well. It has ceramic ball bearings here to keep the clasp, you know, in top condition throughout the life of this watch. And you'll see that there's a helium escape valve here at the 9 o'clock position. And this is very well done, very well executed. It doesn't protrude out of the case like you'll see on the Omega. This execution basically mirrors what you would find on the Rolex Sea Dweller and Deep Seas. It's an automatic sort of helium escape valve. You don't even see it, and it does its job. It's there if you need it. Now the bezel action is very smooth on this watch as well. It's a 60 click unidirectional ceramic bezel, and it's sort of this matte ceramic. So nothing on this watch is too shiny. It's all very subdued, and there's absolutely no polishing on this. But at the 12 o'clock click, it's actually kind of a bit more of a resounding click. I don't know if you can hear it or if the camera can pick that up, but it kind of lets the user know that you've finished the full turn, or you've hit the 12 o'clock. So like I said, everything is designed with the end user in mind. The lume on this watch is also really fantastic. All the hands and indices glow in a very nice blue color. And then the bezel is actually lumed as well. So that aids in visibility at night and is just a really nice touch. I mean, this watch is just a torch in low light visibility. It's probably the best lume that I've seen on any watch, period. So let me get it on the wrist. You can see the clasp closes very securely. Check out this beast. I mean, it's beautiful. I have a 6.5 inch wrist, so it does overhang, I think maybe ever so slightly, but despite kind of the chunky appearance of this watch, and if you are on the fence about this watch and you think it might be too tall or too heavy, I highly suggest you get it on the wrist and try it for yourself. I mean, this watch wears really light. It's actually incredible how light this watch is at only about 160 grams. I barely noticed that it's on. And I would even argue that this watch wears a bit more comfortably than my Rolex Explorer, just because of how well balanced everything is and just how light the watch is due to its titanium build, and just how light the bracelet is as well. So before you write it off as being a chunky watch, highly suggest you get this one on the wrist and try it for yourself. Now the Tudor comes with a 5-year manufacturer's warranty, which is nice. It gives you an added sense of assurance, and Omega offers that as well. Now there's a couple of goodies in the box that come with the Pelagos. So it actually comes with a couple of rubber straps, which I think is a really nice touch. I mean, how much does it cost Omega or Tudor to create like a rubber strap? It's probably peanuts for them, but it's a really nice touch when they throw in something like this and include it with the set. Omega does not do this. You can either get the watch on the bracelet or the rubber strap. In my case, I actually bought it on the bracelet, but you'll see that the rubber straps from Tudor are very high quality. Take it out of the bag. Very high quality. I haven't gotten the chance to put it on the rubber strap yet, but it is kind of like an integrated strap, which is kind of nice. It actually sort of integrates with the solid end link here. So it looks really nice. This is actually a diver extension rubber strap. So this one would go over this rubber strap in the event that you're wearing the rubber strap to go diving. Now let me roll on over to the Seamaster. So the Seamaster is a stainless steel watch. It's 42 millimeters in diameter. It's 13.5 mil thick, so it's a little bit thinner than the Pelagos. And then the wingspan is 50.1 millimeters, so roughly the same in terms of proportions, except this one's a little bit thinner. The movement powering this watch, which you can see from this via the display case back, is the in-house Omega caliber master chronometer coaxial 8800. Very solid movement, very reliable. Some of the best tech that you can get for under $5,000. It beats at a very quirky 25,200 vibrations per hour, as opposed to the Tudor. Forgot to mention it's 4 hertz or 28,800 vibrations per hour, and that's due to the quirky coaxial escapement. It carries a power reserve of 55 hours and is essentially amagnetic up to 15,000 Gauss. So very impressive technology here. And this is a master chronometer as well, so it's certified by Metas, which is the sort of Omega's in-house chronometer testing standard or specification. It's rated to 0 to +5 seconds per day and is tested in a variety of positions and temperatures as well. So very reliable movement. Bezel is 120 click as opposed to the Tudor 60 click. You see that it's a scalloped bezel here. So it's not as easy to grip as the Tudor's coin edge bezel, but it's still adequate and it's much better than the outgoing iteration of this watch as well. The lume on this watch is also very good. It's a bicolor application. You get blue on everything except for the minute hand and the lume pip, which is actually pretty cool. At night you can discern, what minute, you can better discern what the hours and minutes are and all that. There's a nice contrast on the bezel of the bezel text to the actual bezel insert itself, which is all ceramic. And then you'll see a nice wave engraving in the ceramic dial. You'll see that the date window on this watch, which I have partially obscured by the minute hand, is at the 6 o'clock, whereas on the Tudor, it's at the 3 o'clock position. But both of these watches do a really good job at hiding the date window or kind of integrating it with the dial design. On the Tudor, you can see that the date window is white and really matches with the indices. And then on the Omega, since it's at the 6 o'clock and it has a black date window, it's just very, very well integrated with the dial design. The lug width on the Omega is also 20 millimeters. And there's no taper on this at all. So it's 20 millimeters all the way down to the clasp. So it's not as going to be as comfortable as the Tudor bracelet, since it does wear a bit heavy, a bit wide, a bit bulkier. And then the bracelet links are also a little bit sharper as well versus the Tudor, which is much more rounded, if you can pick that up. Oop. So overall comfort definitely goes to the Tudor. Now you can see the clasp on this watch is done very well. Nice brushed finishing. It's definitely a large clasp. It has a extendable pusher here for on the fly, easy on the fly adjustment. And then there's also a diver's extension in case you want that additional sizing for diving and all that good stuff. There's a twin trigger release at the clasp versus the sort of folding clasp and safety catch on the Tudor. Very solid action, extremely secure. It's just definitely a little bit bulkier for sure. And that brings me to my next point. This watch definitely wears a lot heavier, a lot bulkier on the wrist. Well, maybe not bulkier because it is thinner, but due to that bracelet and how wide it is and how bulky the clasp is, and the fact that this is all stainless steel, this watch definitely wears heavier for sure. Now this one features 300 meters of water resistance versus the 500 on the Tudor. One thing to note. There's also a helium escape valve on this watch as well, but it's, as you can see, it's a lot more noticeable than the Tudor. Now this is sort of a signature design of Seamasters, but they definitely made it a lot more prominent and a lot more ostentatious on this model. And the bracelet links are fixed by screws as well. 5-year manufacturer warranty from Omega as well, just like on the Tudor. So that's very nice. You get that added peace of mind. In a nutshell, that's the Seamaster versus the Pelagos. They're both designed with very kind of different ideas in mind. The Tudor is just a tool watch. It's light, it's titanium. It has a really easy to operate bezel, which is lumed. It's extremely legible because of its solid hands that are lumed very well. It has the helium escape valve, which is nice and subtle. Just a pure tool sports watch. Diver's watch. Now, if you're looking for a little bit more pizzazz, a little bit more visual pop and appeal, the Omega is definitely where it's at. It's just a lot shinier, it's glossier, it has polished finishing. You can even see the lug design are, it's got the twisted lugs, a lot more elegant. And then the skeletonized hands look very pretty as well, but they're not going to be as legible in the dark, for example. And then also the scalloped bezel makes this watch a little bit harder to grip, harder to turn. And I would argue that the fact that this watch is a little bit heavier, a little bit bulkier, just make it not as practical day to day, or if you're actually diving or using the watch for more active duty. But nonetheless, two very compelling choices in this price range. It would be personally very hard for me to decide between these two. I think it kind of depends on what's in your existing collection. You know, if you have some very dressy kind of pieces already, like I have my Datejust 41, you know, I think the Tudor is a very good option if you kind of just want to go stealth. If you're looking for a watch that's perhaps maybe a more of an all-rounder in terms of versatility, I'd say go with the Omega because it is a little bit dressier. You know, you probably get away with wearing this for a more formal occasion versus a Tudor would look, in my opinion, maybe a little out of place with a more formal attire. But that's just my opinion. You know, this day and age, everyone's just wearing smart watches anyways. So it's a miracle to see anyone with a mechanical watch on the wrist, honestly. So that's about it, guys. Let me know what you think of this comparison. Is it a fair comparison? I know these two watches are very sort of different in their design language and what they're trying to do, but both very solid choices in their respective price ranges from two very reputable and well-respected brands. Let me know which one you would choose. Let me know if you think that these two watches could coexist in your collection. So thanks for tuning in again, guys. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share this video. Looking forward to hearing from you guys soon. And thanks for your support as always. We'll catch you guys soon. Cheers.